meeting to order. First item on the agenda is City Council staff report by Deborah Owen, City Clerk.
Thank you. I'll keep my comments brief today. Just to remind you that the legislative priorities that were adopted by the Council last Monday are on your website. I just sent you an email out with those reiterated as the legislature meets next month. And that's all I have. So basically no report. Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is Mayor Munson. Is anybody here from the Mayor's office with anything? Seeing none, we'll move on to Audit Committee. No report other than we'll have a couple of presentations by Rich in a couple of minutes. Fiscal Committee, no report. Land Use Committee,
no report.
Public Service Committee.
Your hardest working committee has a full agenda tonight.
That's debatable now. Come on.
We have a full agenda. It's on the back of your informational agenda, and we will start. Do we have an executive session today?
We do.
So we'll start immediately after that in the outer chambers.
Okay. City Council open discussion. Any topics for discussion before we get into the presentations from the Council? Seeing none, we'll move on. Presentations. We have Rich Oakswell, our lead internal auditor, is going to present two items: Environmental Health Audit Report and the Parks and Recreation Cash Audit Report. Rich?
Good afternoon, City Council. We have two brief summaries, we have some PowerPoint slides. The first audit report we're going to talk about is the Park and Rec Cash Audit, and Don Kearney, the Director of Park and Rec, is here if there are any questions at the end of the presentation. And then right after that, we'll go into the second audit on environmental health. First of all, I just want to explain that these cash audits are kind of a bread and butter that we do every year, and tonight you'll see our audit plan for 2010, and we put that in our annual audit plan every year, different departments. And the reason we do that is because cash is something that we want to have good internal controls over. It's a problem that if you don't have good controls over cash, you can have issues that you could have addressed with good segregation of duties or better policies and procedures. The audit objectives were to determine if the controls over money are appropriate and functioning properly, determine if the cash receipts are deposited in a timely, secure, and accurate manner, determine if we have adequate separation of duties and that we have physical security procedures in place. We also reviewed the written policies and procedures to see that they were current, documented, and being followed by the employees. And then we also checked to see that the fees that are being charged and collected are consistent with the city ordinances and accurately recorded. Our audit conclusion overall, this is a quote from our report, that the collection of revenue and the handling of various forms of cash are working very well. And even though we say overall they're working well, we did have some specific recommendations. We had 5 specific recommendations in this audit on pages 3 through 7 of your report. And I want to add, too, that the report that you may have received beforehand electronically did not have the Park and Rec Management response. The written report that you have should have the response from Park and Rec Management there. Several of the audit recommendations related to issuing receipts for all transactions. We had a recommendation about reconciling the league payments. For example, when people sign up for a basketball league or a kickball league or volleyball league, we recommended reconciliation of the number of people that were signed up compared to the revenue that's recorded to make sure that that matches. And then we had a recommendation on increasing the segregation of duties. And then we did have something we called opportunities for improvement on page 7 and 8 of your report. One thing I did want to draw your attention to, I think this is something that would be of interest to the council. We did notice that there was quite an increase in the use of the reduced and free swim passes this year as compared to last year. And if you look on page 10, that we have an Exhibit B of the report. It might be a little complex if you're not a numbers person, so I'm just trying to summarize it with this slide up here. And what we're saying is that the number of free and reduced passes for swimming that were distributed or sold increased significantly from 2008 to 2009. The reduced family passes that were sold increased about 21% compared to the previous year, and the free passes in all categories, whether individuals or family, those increased 54%. As you can see, in 2008, we had about 1,875 of those free passes, and that jumped up to about almost 2,900 in this year. So the net effect financially is the City of Sioux Falls is absorbing about $146,000 in revenue lost in order to offer the free and reduced passes, compared to about $99,000 that the program cost us in 2008. So I thought that might be of some interest to the council. Now, if there are any questions about specific recommendations or things in the report that you'd like me to try and answer, if I can't answer it, then Don Kearney is here to answer also.
Councilor Jameson?
Rich, was there any different accounting methods used for calculating the number of passes that went out, or that number is pretty large change in passes being used?
Well, I think there is a feeling by the council that they wanted to increase the amount of those free and reduced passes, and the fees didn't change. I mean, I think it's $50 for a family pass, and that reduced amount is $25, and obviously free is free, but there was no increase in the fee structure for the swimming pools. But is your question more of why there's such an...
Or more so if there was a change in the way they were counted? I mean,
No, I don't think there is an error in the counting.
Okay.
No, I just think there's more utilization this year than there was in previous years.
Good.
Was there anything you want to add on that, Don? Or okay.
Any other questions for Rich on this?
Yes, Rich, I guess I'm a little concerned about overcharging people at Drake Springs by $15,550. We have an ordinance that says a price, and we still have an overcharge.
Yeah, I think it was the fact that the ordinance is quite specific. It just says Laurel Oaks and Terrace Park, but the new swimming pool is actually an aquatic center, but we recommended one thing they could do is change the ordinance, which I think is the response of management, to say that they'll come before you and ask to, in the ordinance, just say family aquatic centers will be this fee, and then have a definition of what a family aquatic center is, rather than specifying the location. Yes, it was an overcharge. I mean, if you're going to be very strict about the ordinance, that they did charge too much for that. Yes. I don't know how you would correct that at this point. When we discovered it, I think it was in August at the end of the season. I think it was just simply just a mistake. I think there's no other way to put it, and I think management intends to correct that. So you should see some action on the ordinance sometime in 2010.
Councilor Bannigan?
Rich, couldn't some of the free passes also be the fact that Drake Springs was closed pretty much a year ago, and this year it was open for obviously most of the summer? So
That could be an explanation. Yes, that definitely could be. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this one, or we'll move on into the next one?
Okay. Okay, the environmental health audit. Environmental health is a division of the Sioux Falls Health Department. Environmental health serves the people of Sioux Falls by health inspections and environmental sanitation efforts. They have a wide range of activities that they're engaged in. Some of the more common ones are food service facilities inspections. In other words, restaurant inspections or wherever food would be served to the public. Vector control, for example, the West Nile virus spraying program and all that goes with that. The neighborhood cleanup programs, for example, Project Nice and Project Keep, where the health department and planning and some other departments identify certain specific neighborhoods to focus on each spring and to perform a concentrated effort at cleanup. And then the Project Keep is trying to make sure that those neighborhoods have less complaints. So those are some of the activities that environmental health is concerned with. The audit objectives was, number one, just get an overall sense of the effectiveness of internal controls. We went through the 5 areas of internal control that auditors look at. The second objective was to determine that the division revenue is accurately received and recorded, and determine the effectiveness and efficiency of the various functions of environmental health programs. And our conclusion was that overall the internal control structure was functioning well. We did have some specific recommendations, but overall we thought it was functioning well. As far as the recording of revenue, other than the exceptions noted on page 8 of the report, the division revenue appears to be accurately received and recorded. And then lastly, overall the management and the staff of environmental health are efficient and effective in performing the various functions of their programs. And we did have specific audit recommendations, but I want to make sure that you understood that we thought overall that things were managed quite well and that the staff was performing their duties well. On pages 10 through 14 of the report, you'll have the 8 specific audit recommendations, and you should have the management response included with each recommendation. And I draw your attention to recommendation number 6. That was concerning the billing for property cleanup in regard to the nuisance complaints. And that involved a memo from Mark Cotter of Public Works, because Public Works becomes involved in those cases. Say Health Department or another department might identify the problem with the property, but Public Works might get involved as far as providing crews and equipment to clean up the property and then handling the billing process. And there were some issues with the billing process that Public Works is addressing through some change in their procedures. So overall, I thought this audit went well. We didn't have we never have 100% agreement with management on recommendations, but we had very good cooperation with on both audits with management, and I think there was a serious effort made to address concerns about procedures and controls. And if you have any questions, we will be pleased to answer those at this time.
Any questions for Rich? Very thorough, Rich. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll see you later tonight.
The only other item we have before we go into executive session would just be as if there's any council open discussion. We have an executive session scheduled for a personnel matter. Other than that, is there any other conversation? If not, I'd take a motion to move into executive session.
I so move Knutson.
Is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.